Can't turn your phone on.
Hi.
Aloha. We're
David.
live. Lucid. Back. Friday. It's a thing now. We're going to do a thing.
We're going to do a thing.
We're doing a thing. Number 2 right here. Oh, that sounds weird, huh? Sorry.
Which is perfect because our subject today is vulnerability.
Vulnerability. Talking about those scary things.
Talking about the scary things. Let's just say, what does vulnerability even mean?
You can go ahead.
Yeah.
I loved your blogs that you wrote about vulnerability and
Cool.
how you spelled it out, and then I have some ideas as well. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so hi. I'll post the links to the blogs in the comment. But let's see. Vulnerability is. I like to say it's undefendedness. It's like when you're not defensive, like letting yourself be seen.
Oh.
There's one of my blogs I made up the word vulnerability. Right, the degree to which you are undefended is the degree to which you can connect. Yeah, so what I am always looking at is why aren't we all? What's good about vulnerability? What's hard about vulnerability? And as a big fan of it, why are we not always vulnerable? Like, what are we defending ourselves against? If I use that definition, and does it exist?
Does it exist? Do we exist, though?
Do we
You're
exist?
going deep.
I think so.
That's fake. It's all fake.
So, I don't know. I felt something, but yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Anything you want to add to my definition?
Well, I tried to look it up this morning. I'm really into the etymology of words, like the original source of words. And in Latin, it is about that defensive or the protection. So that original one, it's exactly about that.
Yes.
Yeah, you even named it. I think they even referred to the gates of the castle or whatever, as you did in your blog, which is great.
Wow.
Because it's just classic. Like, are we vulnerable to attack, or are we protecting from attack all the time? And so, that's like age old as we are. The neocortex is always on alert. Protect, protect, protect. That's its job, right? So, but Stephen Jenkinson, this wonderful author and teacher on death and so forth, that's his major thing, but he referred to vulnerability. I went to a day-long workshop and read his last book, Come of Age, which is really beautiful. And he talks about vulnerability having original meaning that has something to do with farming, as far as like the furrows that we create, the open spaces where you put the seeds, those are that's the vulnerable area. But that is where the growth will happen, it's opening that space. And then he went on to talk about how the wild is the most vulnerable in this time. And that resonated for me today as I was reflecting, knowing we were going to talk about vulnerability, just thinking about how it does feel like the wild is the most vulnerable, right? Like our children and nature, all of nature so vulnerable right now to humanity's ways of living. And just reflection on that. And then how it feels personally, those more free aspects of ourselves are usually the things that we're trying to protect or hide, because when we're that free and open, how vulnerable we feel. It can feel scary, like being that open and uncensored, unedited, being all of it indeed makes us open to critique and to all that judgment, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that brings up so much.
Yeah. I remember last week I was sitting in my sweater. It's way more comfortable. Okay, sorry. Just in case I'm wiggling a lot, that's why.
Let's see if I got some.
Hard. Give me a foam thing. Okay, that'll be better. Yeah. Oh, that feels like luxury. Okay, good. Thank you. Oh, you're the best.
Oh, you're vulnerable booty.
Vulnerable booty. Better.
Yeah.
Hi,
Here now.
Hi, David.
Hi.
Aw, beloveds.
Thanks. So where were we? So
vulnerability.
yeah, what that reminded me of is this association I think people have vulnerability with weakness. Like the vulnerable part's the weak part.
Yeah.
Because it's the undefended part. And the drawbridge thing you mentioned, I think is worth fleshing out because we get it, but who knows if they get it yet. Is I made the analogy of a castle with a drawbridge, and when the drawbridge is pulled up, then block my
Safe.
Safe. We're safe from attack.
Safe. I'm
like,
safe.
no one can attack us. There's a sense of safety, of invulnerability, impenetrability. But at the same time,
Go ahead, keep going.
yep. At the same time, we're not open for trade. We're not open for exchange. No one can get in. No one can get out.
Connection,
We're not
yeah.
open for connection. So there's this sense that, and your armies can't get out either. If you wanted to go wield your strength that way.
Wielding strength.
Yeah, but there's something about our sharing. There's nothing gets shared out, and I think, oh God, I kind of want to protect my daughter's vulnerability and privacy, and at the same time, like they're teenage girls and they're dealing with body image stuff. So, and like this way of this way of being seen and putting yourself out there is just open to judgment. So we get to defend it against
Yeah.
people's judgment.
Which is why it's our theme today, is because last week for me was a vulnerable share,
Yeah.
or couple, because I also sent that blog out. If you didn't get it and you want to see it, it's on my website.
And we'll put the link in
I
the...
won't put the link in the thing like you're supposed to do. But yeah, that was like, okay, what is it to be vulnerable? Why? Why be vulnerable if it's scary and if it's leaving yourself open to judgment or critique or people turning away from you or whatever? Why? Because that's living fully. That's living fully. And I was reflecting, the most vulnerable thing is to allow ourselves to be seen and to be loved or not loved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hard.
So hard and so crucial. I want to feel fully alive. I want to be here to be fully alive, and that takes a lot of vulnerability.
I want to scratch that. I don't think it's hard. I think it's hard to protect ourselves. I think it takes a lot,
Right, it's a lot
of
more
work
effort.
to
It's
hold
true.
up the defense, to hold
It's
up the
true.
drawbridge. 'Cause we
Even
don't
just physically, all those tensions. Yeah.
You just, when I think about it, like anytime I don't feel like I'm welcome in a space, I'm a little tense, and that burns energy. That is physical hardness.
Yeah. True. Let's go with that. It's
go with
way
that.
easier to be vulnerable.
It is.
Let's go with that.
But there's, it takes a reprogramming because we have to. I said in one of my blogs, I said that it's like vulnerability is both. When we feel safe, we let ourselves be vulnerable. But vulnerability gets confused with danger. Right? When I feel vulnerable, it's like, there's a danger. Right?
But what is the danger? What's
Exactly.
the danger?
Is it real?
What's the danger?
Is
Is
it
it real? Yeah.
It might be. But
Well,
it's worth checking.
yeah. It's definitely worth checking. So yeah, that feeling of fear, I think, is there to protect us. So what's
Yes.
it asking us to do? Check. Is this healthy for me? Is this somewhere I want to be? Are people here having my best interests in, am I making the best choices? Am I physically safe? As much as you can be in that moment. But really, this is the big thing that came up for me with reflecting on it all. I'm just going to jump right into it, is that we're never safe. We're actually never safe. Safe. What is this safe? Anything could happen at any moment. This physical body is not safe. It is an impermanent thing. And so all those fears are us trying to protect something that is impermanent anyways. And we never know when we're going to not have this body anymore anyways. So the idea of safety, this is also something that both the Tantras and Stephen Jenkinson, who is decidedly not a yogi, talks about. And, it's just that there is no physical safety. We don't ever know what's going to happen when, from the inside or outside. I've known young people just aneurysm, dead, gone, boom, like
Yeah, me too.
same day, and crashes, etc., all the like
Yeah.
actual unsafety of the world. I think what we need to do, and the beauty of what yoga gives us, are the practices to know ourselves beyond the physical body, to know ourselves beyond the identifications of personality, of the way, the constructs that we present ourselves as. I'm a woman, I'm a yoga teacher. I'm just spirit in this body playing with what it is to be all these things. I'm not actually any of those things. What I am in the end is all of it. Back to
All of
our
it.
all of it, because that's the theme of all of this, is being all of it and daring to be all of it, and how vulnerable that can be. But ultimately remembering the true essence of what that all of it or being all of it is beyond identification, beyond physical form. And that part of us is always safe. It is unbreakable. And that is the word in Sanskrit in yoga for the heart. It's anahata. It means unbreakable. Our heart is called unbreakable. The heart chakra is called unbreakable.
Whoa, unbreakable. I love that because
Or the unstruck. That's
Right.
There's always multiple Sanskrit definitions in
Yeah.
English, or the unstruck. So even though we may feel like we're broken, our heart's been
Yeah.
struck, like that true essence, who you really are under there, no, it just cracks open a little bit, gets a little brighter, a little more open. But
I've totally had
Yeah.
that sense in heartbreak of like feeling my heart more during the heartbreak. It's like, oh, what actually broke was the shell that I built around it. But
yeah.
thank you, Rumi.
Yeah.
You know, task is not seek for love, just to clear away the boundaries we built against it.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what love does, right? Love is the most, when we feel most vulnerable.
Yeah.
I've definitely felt that, like with my daughter over the years, and I've been in a long-term relationship, but as I develop new relationships and new loves in my life, every time there's that level of like, yay, opening to the new, and then like, ooh, the trembling part where like, you're gonna see all of me.
All of it.
Someone else to judge all of it.
Yeah.
And that's scary and exciting and wonderful and so alive-making. And so here we are.
I want to say more about. I want to say more about safety because I actually have a slightly different take.
Oh, good, exciting.
So, well, yeah, there's like the baseline. We're not safe. Anything could happen at any moment. There's like a standard to that doesn't change that much over time, and then there's the part of it that this circumstance doesn't feel safe. And
Yeah.
so
Like I spoke
so-
to, we want to sometimes actually walk away. It's okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, it's true. But and the when we're feeling unsafe, there's either like an immediate present danger or not. And so there's not total safety, but there's pretty much a limb could fall, one of these trees could fall on my head, or that's not likely. Like I can let myself feel safe. I'm safe enough.
Yeah.
So I love Deepak Chopra had the thing. He's like, there's only really two basic emotions. There's love and fear,
Yeah.
right? So I'm afraid, so I'm angry. I'm afraid, so I'm disgusted. I'm afraid, so I'm
Sad.
sad, right? Or I'm in love. So fear is this like there's something else out there that's not me that can attack me, or I'm one with everything and I'm safe. So
Yeah. So we're one with everything, we're safe. When we remember we're one with everything, we're safe. When we're trusting life, we're safe.
Yeah.
Like there is that we're safe when we trust life.
yeah,
And so, especially those of us who've been through trauma and stuff, there is that kind of feeling that happens a lot. Like we're not safe a lot. We're afraid that we're not safe because we've been not safe a lot in our lives.
not safe from what?
Not safe from what? From being physically hurt, from being emotionally hurt.
Yes.
And so that's it's been a huge part for me of the healing and growth process, is to get so connected to who I am as a spiritual being, to my spiritual self, to my spirit beyond identification and body, and to great spirit, whatever it is, the great mystery that has created us and that runs everything. I have to trust that energy that's running everything or that's created all of this has a plan. And it's life itself. If we just bring it back just to the basics, life energy, lifing itself, it wants the best for itself. Life wants to live. Life wants to flourish. And so if we can just trust life in that way, like all those things that happened to me to bring me here, I wouldn't have chosen those things. You know, it's a lot of pain, a lot of not being safe. But I have been molded into a strong, confident, powerful, radiant, energetic, positive force in life. And I know that, and I can say that and not feel like I'm being all ego. It's just like, I'm okay with myself. And when I'm not, I'm still okay.
Okay with not being okay.
I'm okay with not being okay. Because practices, because trusting life again and again, just trusting divine, trusting life. Like, you know, whatever happens, it's supposed to. I'm going to learn something from it. I'll be stronger or smarter for it. I'll have more to offer because of it. See, I think when we trust life, there's an innate sense of safety.
Yeah, what's going on?
No, well, I'm like, we had this, see, it's different ideas about safety. So that look is like, and how are we now? Are we finding the middle ground?
Well, yeah, I was just saying there's this place where people can go like, I don't feel safe. When we are we're basically, I'm holding that we're basically safe.
Yeah.
There's especially like military, love it or not, it's kept the marauding forces at bay for a long time. I mean, there's some local marauding gangs, right? But we've been basically safe, and people kind of go out and like seek scary things like roller coasters and movies to just have that feeling of danger again, or get in risky situations.
I do all the time. I look for danger. I look for danger. I love to be scared.
You said something so clever once to me. You said I was it might be vulnerable for me to share about your personal thing, but that's the point.
I'm wide open
you
here.
Just said
no holding back.
All of it.
All of it.
You said, I realized that I was trying to create disorder unconsciously, so now I want to create a little more consciously, right? Because I want that. And I think Tony Robbins had laid out like our basic needs, which included the two I'm going to say are certainty and uncertainty, are both human needs. Like, too much certainty is safety, uncertainty is excitement.
Yeah.
So we seek that out.
Yeah.
I feel called to share where I really got my understanding about vulnerability.
Okay.
I want to thank Guy Sengstock and the Arte group for holding this amazing workshop where basically they just held the space where everyone got to share what they're hiding. And the thing that they felt they would be most judged for. Like they've been masking, and there's this way of reflecting, like, you seem like you're hiding something. Like, and one by one, everyone kind of shared the thing they thought they would be kind of kicked out for. And what happened was when they shared their deepest traumas, their deepest insecurities, everyone loved them more.
Yeah.
The exact opposite. So
that's how that works.
So.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's okay,
so,
I think 20%.
Do a little power. Is that okay? Is that going to work?
Okay.
Is that battery back up?
Okay.
Because I don't want to cut you guys short on this awesomeness. Yeah, so
Yeah.
creating space for vulnerability, which I'm working on a yoga version of that, which I haven't talked too much about.
Okay, well that's exciting. Do you want to share?
You want to? Yeah. So after Rosie, my wife, and I, some of you love her, know her. Hi, Rosie. We did this training with Guy and learned how to hold these circles. Then we created a retreat and some local workshops called Open Here, about being open, vulnerable, and here, present, where we'd practice some yoga and do some deep sharing. It was gorgeous. So I'm gonna be doing that again. Stay tuned. I don't want this to be too markety.
No, so, but with that, I mean, what can we offer ourselves, each other, or what do we use as a practice when we feel those vulnerable moments, when we feel ourselves like resisting the
technical
moments? Because often it's easier to just close up or numb out or distract with something else and not be vulnerable. So instead, how can we choose to be vulnerable and have that connection that being vulnerable allows. Awkward moments.
awkward moments.
And that's.
I love how you said that in class too. That Rosie once declared that as one of her superpowers, to enjoy awkward moments.
Enjoying awkward moments. Yeah, it's become more and more of a thing. There was that whole, I remember when Olaki was in grade school, my daughter, there was that whole awkward turtle thing, and we would all kind of tease each other about when we were having awkward turtle moments, like whatever, when you're having a deep conversation and someone farts, like, awkward turtle moment.
Oh, that place where we just want to hide. But when we're hiding, what happens is, which we try to act so put together. Like we, especially, and I'll admit it, it's the vulnerable is the theme. It's like I try to act a little bit extra perfect when I'm teaching. Like I don't okay, I've got it. I don't always got it, but I've got it enough. So, yeah, but when what happens when I put up that mask of, wow, everything, see, sometimes when you get vulnerable, everything falls apart. It's chaotic. Chair's breaking under me. Sometimes I think that we create smoke screens and distractions unconsciously when things get scary. So I'm like fixing the phone and the chair's falling apart.
All the things, pushing through.
I just noticed that. Like, oh, wait, did you? Yeah. And I'm doing it here, maybe just by bringing that piece up. So when we put on that mask of like, I've got it all together, right? Everything's fine. Feelings inside not expressed.
Fucked up, insecure, neurotic, emotionally unstable.
But
Fine.
There's that. But I think more to the point, because I used to use that one and I heard this other one. So check it out again.
Okay, hearing.
Feelings inside not expressed. I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't want to share what's actually happening. I'm fine.
Fine. It's fine.
I'm fine.
It's fine. It's all
But it's not like, if you really meant fine, you'd say, I feel fine, right? I feel fine right now. But it's like, I'm like fine china. I'm like fine wine. Like
fine, don't ask.
Yeah,
fine,
but it's
stop.
like stop. I've got some feelings inside that I'm not going to express right now. And so I'll just say fine. So there's this mask, and what happens is we might feel a little safer when the other person doesn't have to see our imperfections. However, they also don't get to know us. There's no intimacy, there's no connection. There's this kind of like bouncing, like my mask sees your mask. Instead of namaste, my light sees your light. My mess sees your mess.
Yeah, beautiful.
One of my friends said, hi Arash, if you ever happen to watch this, trauma stay. The trauma in me sees the trauma in you. Right?
Yeah, we're often attracted to people who have the same trauma as us. And what beautiful, oh my gosh, it actually broke now. What beautiful permission we can give to ourselves and each other when we allow ourselves to be in the awkwardness and to show up with a mess. And I see one of my dear beloveds is watching, who I was just thinking of as you talked about all that. My beloveds Ruby, Tuesday, and Jess.
Love you guys so much.
We love you so much. And they often refer to their awkwardness and their mess that they are, and I used to just think, but you're not, you're so lovely. And then I realized like how much they're referring to all that, like they're onward and awkward and something like that. Nice. Onward and awkward. You know, how playful that is, how much it gives so much freedom and permission for us all to just celebrate being awkward, because that's the juicy stuff in life. Like when we show up the way we're supposed to be, it's just so boring. So when we can show up in our awkward and in our messy and really embrace each other and celebrate each other for that, like, yeah, that's the vulnerability, and there's the ability to connect. There's that openness. So thank you for that. Thank you for showing up however you are.
Onward and awkward.
Onward and awkward. Thank you. Awkward and onward. You can type it in if we're saying it wrong. Let us know. But yeah, thank you for how you show up.
So vulnerable.
Vulnerable.
God.
Yeah, for me, again, coming back to being really, truly vulnerable is trusting life. I am vulnerable here. I'm open. If you hate me, if you love me, I'm going to get exactly what I need from this, and we'll be able to connect, or I'll be able to get a reflection from myself that I need to. And that has certainly happened. As a, in the seat of a teacher, we open ourselves up a lot to expectation and critique and all that, and it often feels vulnerable. And I try not to show up like I think I'm supposed to be, but I try to show up the way that I actually am without making it about me, without sharing my whole story. Here's the human story that's happening without the details of my personal story. Here's what's happening in a way that we can all relate to. Because we all have the same emotions, the same experiences, and they just have different stories and colors and shapes around them, but it's all the same ultimately. So remembering that and meeting there, that's the work. The practice. You're so tall now.
I know, it's not fair.
Big David.
But the other one broke.
That's okay. I can deal with it. Or I can sit on my foot.
That's how we are.
Yeah.
Current reality.
Current reality.
Welcoming current reality.
Yes.
Vulnerability.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like this willingness to be seen. Just here I am.
Here I am, imperfect, whole underneath all the fragments.
So like when we're not being vulnerable, then what's happening is we're putting up a front, and that I think it causes a lot of loneliness. I just heard something about loneliness being worse than smoking or something like that. Like for our health. Like, and we feel lonely, like, I've done it myself and watched so many people, and they feel like they're stuff. They just kind of isolate. They don't want people to see them in their negative. I had a really good friend called me, and he started to talk about what's going on in his life. He's like, I don't want to be a downer on the call. I was like, come on, like, I want to be able to call you when I feel down. Can you just share what's going on? And he shared, and we had a great conversation, and it was like, oh yeah, remember who I am now.
Yeah.
Instead of pretending who I'm not.
Yeah. That's huge. The permission that we give to each other when we dare to be vulnerable and reach out when we need help, and the permission that we give to each other to, again, just be awkward or messy and human. Yeah.
I so appreciate when you reach out when you're having a hard time, and I love that I can reach out to you.
I love that too.
And you all can reach out to me.
Thank you. Reach out to us.
Yeah. I love that. It's the culture just hasn't. It's not like a vulnerability-friendly culture. Look at our government. Look at our social structures. Look at our checkout culture. So
how do we make it more of a vulnerable, friendly culture? What can we do? What can each of us do?
I loved. One of my friends did a vulnerability rally, where they had everyone just stood out in the street, like with a sign of like something vulnerable, and I didn't go for logistical reasons, but the sign I was going to make, vulnerable share, accidental killer. I killed someone by accident. I was in a car accident, took someone's life. That I had to hide for so long. So much shame. So it's vulnerability and shame are related.
Oh. So much.
I just said that live.
You did. I love you.
It was good. I love what you said to me when I was grieving over one. You talked about the gold. What's that practice?
Kinsabi, something.
Katsugi, something like that.
Yeah, kintsugi. So the Japanese practice of when something breaks, they put it back together with gold. So that broken thing is even more valuable and beautiful than it was before. It's glued together with gold. And so, let your heart break open, and we'll put it back together with gold.
Yeah. It's that, and with that, so your favorite cup like breaks. It's like, I gotta throw it out, but it's my favorite cup. Maybe I'll glue it back together with like super glue, and it's like, that just looks awkward. I'm gonna
definitely use the sparkly glue, if not gold.
I'm gonna put it in the back of my thing. But then if you use gold, this special gold paste, which I looked it up. I was like, I'm going to get some of it. It's pretty expensive stuff, but I want to get some for this one cup that I'm thinking of.
No.
Right? You glue it back together, and it becomes the most precious thing there. Not so the things that break us, if we patch it together well, makes us incredibly valuable. And that was your reflection to me. You were like, what broke you made you so beautiful.
You are so beautiful because of it. Your heart is so huge, and the way you hold other people with such compassion is so, so huge. And I know so much of it came from there,
Yeah.
as it is mine. I mean, it was both
Yeah.
when we're teenagers that we had these huge things happen to us, you know,
Yeah.
like, and just, mine was more layers of trauma than one big event, you know, having things happen to me, and then the way I dealt with it was becoming a drug addict, putting myself in dangerous situations, giving myself away for drugs, etc. You know, like, that's my shame. Yeah, my shame is around
Take a breath on that.
my sexuality and how I have given myself away and how I've sold my body and how I was so ashamed of that for so long. But then in retrospect, I can see that that was part of my healing. I was owning my power from being molested and raped. I was taking it back. And so, yeah, a breath on that. A breath on that and whatever we have to do to reclaim our power. That's not hurting others.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah. Well, let's just take a... I believe, and I'm sure trauma specialists would know more about this than me, but I've helped people with trauma a lot. I believe that when we speak of our trauma, or when we're just presented with it, there's either an opportunity to re-traumatize or to heal a bit. So I just want to take this moment to heal a little bit of my own shame and trauma, and just offer you just to let go of that one extra little... I felt your body brace up here, right there. Like, just no amount of body tension will really help undo my past. There's a great saying, on the spot on live video. Suffering is trying to negotiate a better past for yourself.
Suffering is trying to negotiate a better past for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is impossible.
Yeah. So for me, suffering is in the storying. When I'm like, oh, this means that, and that was because of, and I shouldn't have, and this person is that, and like storying, like repeating these stories about how terrible I am or someone else is or life is. Like, that's where the suffering is when we repeat that. And so that's, definitely cursing that thing instead of like, oh yeah, actually, wow, all that I learned from that, the power I got from that, the wisdom I got from that, and and again, it's for me that comes back to trusting life. All that has happened is perfect. All that I do is perfect because it's coming from that. It's growing towards something. I'm not stuck in any one story. I still I celebrate life. Yeah.
Let's do a future video about suffering too.
Okay. So I know we could go deeper on suffering for sure.
And we wanted to keep this about half an hour.
About half an hour. How are we doing?
Amazing. And we just shared, we both shared like some of our most vulnerable stuff.
shares.
So, God, I've been wanting to do like we wanted to create some space, like the open here thing, where people get to just be vulnerable and have it be held in a way. And I even thought about just like doing masked interviews with people where they didn't have to show who they were and just share their experience, and so they can have they can speak their truth without being seen, or whatever level of safety they need. But like, what is safety?
There's this great series of books I think it's called Post Secrets, where people write in anonymously and then are published in books, the things that they're ashamed of or their secrets that they've never told anyone. It's pretty sweet. It's so beautiful. The tender heart and the things that we hide, and when we dare enough to share them. I'm in love with people.
Yeah.
I love people so much.
It's so amazing. So much wounding and so much trauma, and like, it's just so much shame. People carrying so much shame and hiding so much.
Yeah, I want to be a champion for not hiding. for shining, for expressing, for saying it all, for being it all. Yeah. That's living fully. And I know when I have like these moments of awakening, of forgetting like how I'm supposed to be or just being, I feel like I'm so in love with life and everyone. I just want to like cry all the time or hump everything. It's all like very emotional, sexual energy. Like that's what's there. And I think, that feels so vulnerable to be that open, that state of awakening to me when I'm so in love with life. I'm just so emotional and feeling and very sexual as well, and that's what I feel like I need to protect, because there are a lot of predators in the world. That's real. But most of that's too because those people are hurt and they're trying to heal themselves and figure out, what do I do with this situation? And if we weren't as afraid to share our things and to speak our truths, and maybe we could not have as much sickness and predatory stuff going on.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, we're taught to be ashamed of our sexuality. We will be doing
I think next time, because it keeps coming up.
Yeah.
We almost did that
We'll
today.
talk about sex.
Talk about sex, baby. Right? You and me and all the good things. Out next time. Okay.
Yeah, we've got time for that shit.
Not today.
Not today. But we will. Yeah, we'll go, because sex is like, we're all made of sex. Like we're all here because someone had an orgasm. Hopefully a couple people.
Hopefully both of them.
but chances
we'll
are,
talk about that too.
even with test tubes, like one person had an orgasm for that.
Yeah, at least someone did. Yeah.
Right. So like we come from sex. We're made of sex, and we're taught to mask it. So we'll be bringing that in a future thing, and especially, I just wanted to give a quick shout out before we wrap up to like all the people in Alabama and Mississippi and all the like what the fuck is going on there, like anyways.
Well, that's all fucked up, and we have a lot of stuff to deal with there on the governmental, structural, of who's in charge level. And as well, there's so much beautiful roots activism and wisdom and witchy people who remember the gifts of the earth. And there are gifts of the earth where we can own our own power to have abortions naturally with herbs. It just makes your period come. There are ways to do that. We don't actually need to depend on the medical industry as it is. So there's both things. Like for me, I tend to work more on heart earth level, and the whole political thing, it just overwhelms me sometimes. So yes, I want to do something about that, and yes, speak out against that, and it's infuriatingly fucked up. And there's ways that we can learn and reclaim our power, like research, reach out, let's create groups, and if you have the knowledge, then let's share it. It's time to share the knowledge of the herbs, of the plants, and the gifts of the earth that give us power back over our bodies and over our health.
Yeah, more on that later. Mainly, I just wanted to shout out. And
Sorry,
compassion.
I had to. Because
no. Sorry, nothing. That was beautiful. I'm glad you said that.
Thanks.
Hooray. That's about the time we got.
Yeah.
Did it again. Oops.
Oops.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Onward and awkward. No. Awkward and onward. Thanks, everybody, for watching. And wow, what else can we say? Yeah. See you next time on the Lucid and David show.
All of it.
All of it.
All of it.
All of it. See you next time on All of It.
All of it.
Do your theme song. Let's get on a theme
Right,
song.
or make theme song. Okay.
Okay.
Great. All your feedback welcome. All your requests welcome, because I think we're going to keep doing this. And we've got lots of experience and knowledge and process, and we are both still alive, we believe, to share, to give back.
Yeah.
I know I'm only alive to give back. I've been so blessed to make it this far with all the challenges I've given my life, all the risk.
So let us know what you want to hear more of. If you have any questions and stuff that you want us to go into. That's all for now. We'll be here most Fridays. I mean, there's a lot of travel and stuff.
Yeah,
so.
Memorial Day weekend next weekend, maybe. We'll see. Okay.
I'm around. Maybe I'll just do it myself.
Hey.
But it won't be on your feed.
Okay.
All right.
Be on his. He's nice. He's a good guy.
I'm all right.
Right.
That was actually...
Namaste. Namago?
Namaste.
No? One more story? That was actually, I heard you. I was How's your time?
I gotta go. Namaste. Okay. Bye.